Oh, it's actually cramping. This EQ is cramping. So you can add saturation, but why is there no oversampling? Hello, this is VXT and welcome back to another video. Now, I've heard from countless producers that they use drip on almost every sample. First of all, shout out to Kyle Beats for putting this plugin out. But the engineer inside of me is allergic to plugins with magic knobs that I don't really know what they're doing. So without any further ado, let's just get right into it. So I've been told most producers use drip on their soft synths and pianos and pads and elements like that. So let's just try putting it on and see what it actually does. So the first knob that we see here is called the shape knob. As far as my understanding goes, this seems to be some kind of a morphing EQ that goes from a flat response to a saved response that they have in their wavetables. But let's just confirm with Plugin Doctor. So it seems like the shape knob is actually completely linear and time invariant. And kudos to the developer for not adding any gain when we're at 0% on all the knobs. You won't believe how many plugin companies actually do boost half a dB to a dB just to make you subconsciously feel like the plugin is doing some good work. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is these are pre-saved curves and not program dependent. So for example, the Good Stuff preset shaping has a deep cut at around 75 Hz of around 7.5 decibels. So if your song is actually in the key where the fundamental note is around 75 Hz, you're gonna get rid of it and probably not the best use of this plugin. But I understand that having a knob with pre-saved curves is sometimes helpful in the production process, especially if you're making samples. The second knob I see here is heat. Let's see what that actually does. Oh, okay, now we're boosting. I see the EQ shape here, but I also feel like we're adding some harmonics. So let's just jump into the harmonic analysis and see what this is actually adding. Oh, there we go, look at that. So we have a fundamental frequency of 100 Hz, and we're adding all of these harmonics. Okay, so the heat knob is basically just adding saturation, and the presets control the amplitude of the harmonics that we're adding. So the higher that we turn this knob, the amplitude of the harmonics is increasing linearly. One thing that I'm hearing really clearly, especially at higher frequencies with drums, is there is some aliasing going on. Let's just actually confirm this by using a fundamental frequency of, let's say, 5000 Hz. It's really clear to see that everything about the fourth harmonic, which would be above 20,000 Hz, is basically getting reflected back, and it's surprising to see that there is no oversampling option with this plugin. Now, I might be completely wrong, but looking at the linear analysis and the Hammerstein, it seems like the plugin was hard-coded to work at 441K, which is why we have this brick wall anti-aliasing filter at 22.05 kHz. Alright, moving on to the next thing called Spice. Let's listen to what that actually does. Now, from what I can tell, this seems to be some kind of a modulated delay effect, so we're getting phaser flanger, and chorus kind of effects. The good part is we're never actually going above 6 milliseconds in terms of our buffer sizes. Let's just look at the impulse response to see the delay and the modulation that's happening. Okay, so I was right about the modulated delay. It seems like we're adding a couple of copies of the original signal and then moving the read and write pointers in the circular buffer at different speeds. And then some presets have the phase inverted to give us the phasor effect. And in some cases, it seems like the read pointer is actually skipping back and forth to give us a flanger effect. And in other ones, it's smoother to give us a chorusy feel. Now, these are also pre-baked, and there is no way for me to actually change the rate or the depth of the LFO to give us more or less of this effect. Alright, moving on to the next knob. It's called Depth. Let's see what it actually does. Alright, so that definitely sounds like a reverb with early reflections, and some of the presets also seem to have a long tail. But let's just confirm it with the impulse response in Plugin Doctor. So, alright, this is kind of like reverb, and we are doing convolution with some impulse responses. It seems like we're using a tank circuit, which is all pass filters and comb filters for designing this, also giving us some stereo width. For example, the pink one is the left channel and the blue one is the right channel in this case. And we're receiving the pink channel first, so the way this impulse response would convolve with the signal, it would make you feel like the object is a little towards your left, giving you a sense of space again. Now, the thing that I find fascinating about most of these presets is that the impulse responses grow over time, which usually would not happen in a real-life space. However, think of it this way, that the original sound is not coming to you directly, but that the reflections of the walls, ceilings, or floor are much higher, giving you a sense of space and some reverb sounds. And then there are also some presets with long-tail reverbs. There's a couple other sections, namely the delay and the shelving filters, but the names of the knobs in there definitely make way more sense than the other ones to me. Anyhow, let's just make sure that they do what they actually claim. The dry-wet knob controls the amount of signal that we're getting after the delay compared to the original signal. The time knob controls the delay time, and if you wanted to, we can sync it to the BPM of your host. And then the feedback knob controls the amount of feedback that we're getting. So you can also turn it into an oscillator if you turn it all the way to 100%. And if you start turning it to the left, you're basically flipping the phase on every alternate delay. And I like that there's a big knob in the center controlling the mix level, which basically you could have done in FL Studio using the knob here, but other digital audio workstations might not have that luxury. Now, the last thing in here is a high shelf filter, which basically does what it says it does. One thing that I do find just looking at it is we have some cramping. Just look at this peak up top. And as soon as we start approaching the Nyquist, it starts becoming more and more cramped to return back to 0 at Nyquist. Again, something that could have been solved with oversampling. I definitely believe that the plugin developer should have included an oversampling / high quality mode that you could enable if you needed to. Oh, that's what the speed knob does. Alright, so it seems like there's an LFO that you get to control the frequency of. Let's listen to how it actually sounds. And you can also sync it to tempo to get the tremolo or vibrato effect. So in conclusion, it seems like the devs have done a really good job. A couple of important things seem to be skipped over, especially oversampling and cramping of the EQs. I think can be fixed with an update. And I understand wanting to keep the plugin simple, but I would love to see an advanced tab where you can actually control the parameters inside. For example, with the shape knob, I would love to see a frequency and slope slider, and for the spice knob to let us control the LFO rate and the time for the delay. So I really hope that you learned something from this video, and if I was completely wrong about something, don't hesitate to tell me. Please let me know down in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Keep making great music and have a nice day. Peace.